Get ready to look at the little things on our farm, because today we're taking some powerful new tools and we're going to be looking at our farm in a way we've never done before. And today's video is sponsored by my friends over at Open Farm.
So the other day I was finishing up my farm chores and heading on inside, and I suddenly felt something on the back of my neck. And so I reached back there to see what was crawling around on the back of my neck. And I made a discovery. It was a tick. I decided I wanted to check something out. And so I decided that I wanted to get a closer look at that tick. So I put it underneath the microscope to just see what was going on. And it was fascinating. I could see it moving around and crawling. I could also tell that it was a dog tick and not a deer tick, which is the dangerous tick that carries Lyme disease. And that up-close experience made me wonder about getting other up-close experiences around the farm. So let's take a look at some other things.
That's weird.
Like, for example, since our mating season has ended for our geese, the adults are starting to molt. And we're now starting to see feathers all over the place. I'm very curious to see what a goose feather looks like.
So heading inside, I fire up my microscope and I take a look at that feather. And as I look at the feather, it's pretty remarkable to see the absolute perfect symmetry of the vein of the feathers. If you can see it, it's comprised of those veins as well as the barbs, which are those little stringy things that you see off to the side. It's pretty remarkable to see what a goose flight feather looks like up close like that.
I guess while we're at it, let's also maybe take a look at a duck feather, huh? Hey, Ron Swanson, you mind giving me a sample?
No! No! No!
Release the Kraken!
Now, if I'm gonna choose a duck feather, I guess the question is, which duck feather should I choose? I could take Jemima Puddle Duck. I could take, let's see, what else? Maybe one of these runner ducks here. Or this khaki Campbell duck right here that's waddling along. Or wait, I see the perfect candidate. I see the perfect candidate right here.
Okay, so here we have our Cayuga Drake Sirius Quack. Can you see how his feathers are this beautiful green iridescent color? Don't worry, buddy, I'm only taking one. There we go. Okay, you're free to go, buddy.
In looking at the duck feather under the microscope, it was pretty similar to the goose feather. It was somewhat less dense, but I don't know if the difference is I took a body feather from Sirius Quack, but I ended up taking one of the flight feathers from the goose. But overall, it looked about the same structure.
I guess while we're at it, let's grab a chicken feather too. You are one small but fierce rooster, my friend. Just want to grab one feather, pal. Boop, that's it. Just the one.
Now, the important thing to note about this chicken feather is the chicken in question is half silky, and so that means you can see some of that silky feathering show up in the feather itself. You'll notice that the barb and barbules on the feather are much looser when compared to both the duck and the goose feathers.
How's it going, Mama Goose? You're hanging out inside here with your little ones? So Mama Goose here just hatched out 5 little ones. I actually just sold one of the 5 as a guard goose to somebody here in our area. I'm very curious to see if I can take a look at the down of one of those goslings. I hope I don't lose a finger doing it. Excuse me, miss, can I get in there? Let's see, can I get a little bit of the down? Here we go, here's some of the down. Oh, you're doing so good, little one. Yes, you are. Yeah, and you're calming down, see? Good job.
And looking at that goose down, it's definitely clear why little baby goslings need the heat of their mother or a heat lamp. You can see just how much less dense this feathering is compared to the duck, goose, or chicken adult feathers. At this age, they can't possibly retain warmth with feathers this thin, and that's why the mama goose is a really important influence on babies like these goslings here.
Now next week, Abby Dog and Toby Dog are going to be heading to the groomer. Hey Toby Dog, you've been rolling around in the dirt to cool down all morning, but I think I'm going to steal a little bit of your fur. Let's take a look at that. Pardon me, Molly Murder Mittens. Can you come here? Come here, sweetie. I need your help with something. Can I take a sample of hair? I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I got some cat hair from Molly Murder Mittens. I am super allergic to this stuff, but I am very curious to see what it looks like under the microscope too.
The dog and cat hair looked very similar. With Toby's hair, I was just really surprised to see how dark it was given that he's a white dog. But when I look at Molly's hair compared to Toby's, hers is thinner, but overall looks very similar to what Toby Dog's hair looks like.
Oh, so Abby, now that we've looked at dog fur and cat fur, I'm sure you guys probably want to get fed. Well, let me just take a moment to tell you guys today about our sponsor, Open Farm. Open Farm remains to be Toby Dog and Abby Dog's absolute favorite.
Open Farm always uses human-grade meats as the first ingredient, and my dogs love the taste. Their recipes have no scary fillers, just human-grade meat, fruits, and veggies. Every single ingredient is ethically sourced. That means that their beef is grass-fed and lives a happy, free-roaming life. The lamb is pasture-raised and fed a wholesome diet, and the salmon is wild-caught and always sustainable. And when I put Open Farm to the microscope test, you can really see the meat textures of both the kibble and the freeze-dried raw food. And if you want a real treat, take a look at the cod skin snack treats that both my barn cats and guard dogs love to eat. It's incredible to see all the textures of the real cod skin that they have in every single bag.
Abby Dabby Doo, you were very patient. Let's go. We're gonna feed you too. Come on. Here you go, girl.
Today, Toby and Abby are getting a mixture of kibble and freeze-dried raw beef coupled with the chicken stock to add moisture and flavor to the meal. Watch them devour it.
If you want to save 15% on Toby Dog and Abby Dog's favorite dog food, as well as Ginny Barn Cat's favorite snack treats, click the link down below and use the code GOLDSHAW and you will save 15%. Your pets are going to go nuts for some Open Farm. Let's take a look at our honey beehive this morning. We got a beehive of activity going on. Be careful, don't bite one of those things. Abby, I don't want you playing with the bees. You'll get hurt. Uh-oh, Abby just got stung. Oh, Abby, did you just get stung? Oh no. I tried to warn you, sweetie. Oh, I hope you don't get swelled up. Yeah, Toby knows not to do that. Abby, not so lucky.
I love looking at the bees up close. It's super magical to me to zoom in and see the bees in action. So far this year, our 2 hives are doing really well. And when you dig in and look inside the hive, it really is just like a thriving metropolis of bees doing their thing, working and producing honey, working and producing honeycomb, spitting out the wax, sealing the wax with the eggs, rearing young ones, doing all of the things that bees need to do to get ready for winter. I'm so grateful to have these bees, and I love zooming in with my special cameras to take a look at what happens actually inside the beehive.
I think the bees, S-U-S-P-E-C-T something.
Good morning, Moo Crew. How's it going, everybody? Good to see you, Ariel. Good to see you, Annabelle. So it looks like my cattle have eaten down all their pasture and it's time to move them to a new grazing lane. Let's get this party started right.
Y'all want this party started quickly.
Come on, cows. Come on, cows. Come on, cows. Fresh grass. Come on, cows. And while the cattle are munching down the grass, one of the things I wanted to look at under the microscope is what's going on with our soil after the fact. Come on, calves, you're going the wrong way. Jimi Hendrix, where are you going?
Yeah, there's this virtuous cycle that happens with our cattle in the pasture. The grass grows naturally with water and sunlight. The cattle come in and eat down the grass. And then the cattle leave their manure, which fertilizes that pasture, making it able to grow even more grass. But what I don't often think about are the creatures that break down that manure and turn that manure into something usable for the pasture. And usually it starts with these flies that you see here. So even though this is a disgusting wet cow patty from a night of rain, you know that this is ultimately going to be fertility that's going to grow much more grass and other plants on our pasture. And it's because of these flies that they help break it all down and make it usable. And yeah, Abby does kiss me with that same mouth. Now the flies coming in to break down the cow pies are the first step. I don't even have a microscope that's strong enough to show what really happens as these cow pies break down. But if I were to examine them underneath the microscope, you can see that there's still grass in those cow pies, but there's a whole lot of other stuff going on here as well that makes up the manure.
Manure! I hate manure!
So I'm not sure if we're going to see anything interesting, but I will grab a sample here, just in the name of YouTube science. Let's carefully bag this one up. Hey, Abby Dabby Doo. Just hanging out by the trough with your herd? Because of their breed, our cattle have this rough, shaggy coat that keeps them warm and insulated and protected from the weather. It comes in real handy when we're having our harsh winters here in northern Vermont. But they will often shed that fur in the summertime. And because I put these scratching posts in for my cattle so that they can help shed, I'm finding I have a huge collection of Highland fur. I'm very curious to see what this looks like. Maybe we can even compare it to some cat and dog fur.
Well, in looking at the Highland fur, it's very anticlimactic. It looks pretty much just like the cat and dog fur, maybe a little bit thicker, slightly different color, but other than that, the same. You know, here's Toby Dog's fur for comparison, and then here's some barn cat fur for comparison as well. Pretty much all the same.
And yes, it's as adorable as you imagine when they scratch up against these brushes. Excuse me, miss. Belinda Carlisle, please don't eat my ATV. What are you doing? So while the cattle are munching down that portion of the pasture, for the most part, this portion of the pasture remains untouched except for your occasional wayward calf. I think another fascinating element of our farm and like what happens on the small level of our farm is what happens with the grass. Between the grasses and other plants, it's amazing to see the diversity our pastures hold. You know, a whole host of different grasses, nitrogen fixers such as vetch, even weeds like milkweed. All of them are just fascinating to look at on a tiny, tiny scale. You know, the one topic I wish I studied more in school when I was a kid was botany, and just learning more and more of the plants and what they do and their characteristics. The more and more I'm out here on the farm, the more I learn, but gosh, I wish I had a better knowledge of these things, because looking at this stuff is just absolutely breathtaking.
So here's some vetch up close. You can see the flower, you can see the stem. Look at all those fibers. It's amazing. And here we have, I think this is grass. Look how symmetrical it is. Here is some thistle. So you know the prickly thistle? That's why it's so gosh darn prickly right there.
Now beyond the plant life of the pasture, I'm also fascinated with the insect life of the pasture. Like for example, this time of year, all I have to do is drive through the pasture. And my ATV's guaranteed to pick up a couple creepy crawlies. Let's take a look at you, pal.
So right here we have a cricket, but it's actually a cricket in one of its earliest nymph stages. It's kind of going from that transition from being baby to adult. And see it up close. You know, it's fun to put these under the microscope as well. Here's another cricket nymph. I think this one's a little bit earlier in its development phase. And then I also found a snail here, and so let's take a look at that. This one was still alive as I put it on the slide, so you can see it wiggling around and moving. It's so crazy to see. You know, as I tried to record this under the microscope, the snail moves a lot faster than you think a snail moves. It's pretty darn quick, actually. And so it was hard to get these shots, but watching them, it's just incredible to see just how complex a life form a mollusk is.
Mollusk lingers with its wandering eye.
Speaking of mollusks, here's another one. We've got a slug that I decided to put underneath the microscope as well. You can see I think that's like its snout moving and pulsing. It's crazy. It's like you're on an alien planet looking at a creature like this. Could you imagine a slug that's like human size? That would be terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Enough to make me want to pour beer on it right now.
But if I really want to see some cool wee beasties, the best thing to do is flip over a rock. Would you look inside of there? Under this one, it looks like we've got some ants running around.
For one, welcome our new insect overlords.
All right, now let's check under this rock. Ooh, what's that guy? I wonder what that is. What do you think it is, Molly Murder Mittens? There we go. Some sort of larvae? Looks like it just shed its skin.
So I was really curious to see what this insect was. It definitely seemed like some sort of insect in development, and after doing a lot of research, I discovered that it's actually a dung beetle, like the one that you see right here, in its pupa stage. So it was in the process of developing to be a dung beetle to work my pasture, which I kind of think is cool because it brings it all full circle. You know, one of the things I'm prone to talking about is how I see our farm as an ecosystem. Not just about how I, as the farmer, take care of my animals, but how the animals interact with the land, which interacts with the insects, which interacts with the wildlife, which interacts with each other, which interacts with me, and everything is connected. Our farm is just one big ecosystem. Taking a tool like a microscope or a macro lens and zooming in and looking close at the farm, I feel like taking this time today has really given me a very different perspective on my farm, and it's got me thinking about what to do in the future. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out some of our other stuff where you can learn more about what we do here at Goldshaw Farm. Thanks for watching.